I've got so much to tell you about some things that have been happening recently, some things we've got coming up, and a cool giveaway. Lots to talk about. I even have notes because there's so much to talk about. But first, you know the drill. We gotta roll that intro. Stay tuned. Welcome to TrailRecon. I'm Brad, and today we're in the garage and we're not doing anything constructive. I'm not taking you on a big trip. I just wanted to take a few minutes and just sit down and tell you guys about what has been going on lately, what's coming up, and a cool giveaway that I've partnered with my friends at KC HiLites with, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. But things have just been crazy busy lately. I feel like I've been going 1,000,000 miles an hour, and there's still a lot more to come, but I really want to talk about some of the things that have happened behind the scenes that I haven't really shared with you guys, and so I'm just going to take some minutes here, I don't know, just chat in the garage. I think the best thing to do is let's talk about the Wrangler because there's been a lot going on with that. It's crazy for me to think that the Wrangler is 4 years old. Time has flown by, and it's been so cool sharing the build and where we've gone with this thing over those years. And a lot of people say that the Wrangler isn't very reliable, but I will disagree. We have put this Jeep through the ringer, and it has held up great. However, recently there have been a few things that are starting to get fatigued, and maybe it's from, I don't know, can we use the word abuse? Because I'm pretty hard on this Jeep. We put a lot of hard miles on it, and we do hit the trail pretty hard. And so recently there's been some things that we've had to address. And so I'll start off by talking about the steering. So my steering was kind of getting a little bit sloppy, and I figured it was probably time to just go ahead and replace the steering box. So we did that. We went over to Rebel Off-Road, had them swap out the steering box with a heavy-duty steering box, and it made such a difference in the handling of the Jeep. I was really glad I did that. I think running the larger tires and all the weight we've had over this long period of time has just put a strain on that smaller gearbox. So having the new heavy-duty gearbox has really been nice. And then a few weeks after that, I'm pulling into the Home Depot parking lot and I hear snap, and my front track bar bracket completely sheared off. Was that related to us replacing the steering box? It's possible now that there was a little more torque on that the welds finally failed, but I think that had been maybe fatigued for a while and maybe was the reason my steering was sloppy. So I had to get that re-welded on. And it was an easy process, but I need to get in there and actually pull that track bar bracket off and get a much beefier track bar bracket. That's initially was my initial thought, but I think I've got something else planned, but we'll talk about that in a second because there's still a few more things that we need to talk about. So after that, we've been hitting the trails and running around, having a great time, but I had the Deer Valley Slick Rock trip coming up, the Moab trip, and there was a lot of things going on, and so I took it in for a 100,000-mile service at Redlands Jeep, and so they did the hoses, the belts, the transfer case fluid, the transmission fluid. We replaced the spark plugs. Did a great job. And look, some of you are going to bust my chops and saying, Brad, why didn't you just do that yourself? Because yes, those are all good do-it-yourself projects that I could have done right here in the garage, and I probably should have, but I just didn't have time. Things were just so busy. Okay, maybe I didn't make time and things were busy, so there's probably a little bit of both, but those are definitely projects you can do. But it was nice to be able to just take it into the dealership, have them knock it out, and then I could just get on my way. While I was there at the dealership, the technician that was doing the work on the Jeep, he's like, hey, have you seen this upper rear control arm bracket? We took a look at that and it was bent and cracked, and I was like, oh man, I don't have time to weld up a new bracket because we are leaving. I think we were leaving like 48 hours after that. And so what we did is we just kind of put it back into place as best we could and welded it up, and then it drove great. It was having no problems. And then we went to Slick Rock and Deer Valley. The Jeep performed great. It was no problems. We had an awesome trip out there. Drove home. It was several hundred miles to and from there. No issues with the Jeep. It was performing really well. And then a couple days later, I think it was 4 or 5 days later, we had to turn around and go to Utah because Marco and I had a trip planned with the folks at Redlands to just go play around Moab and just have a great time. And it wasn't a filming trip for us. It was just more of a, hey, let's leave the tents and all the camping gear and not do any cooking. Let's just go enjoy doing a little bit of off-roading in Moab. It was a great time, and I'm sorry I didn't film those. I did a little bit of filming, but just took some pictures and just had a great time out on the trail. Marco's clutch went out on him, so he ended up being a passenger with me. We did a little filming in the Jeep. We just kind of chatted a little bit. You can go check out that video. It was a great time just hanging out with him in the Jeep. We had a blast. It was awesome. And then it was time to come home, and so he was able to drive home even though his clutch was making a little bit of noise. We headed out on the road, and we left early in the morning. And as I'm driving home, we're going down this windy road, down a hill, and I'm on the radio, and I'm like, Marco, things aren't feeling right. My Jeep's really, really squirrely. And so we pulled over at a Love's gas station and started getting under there, checking bolts and everything. Couldn't find it. And eventually I got to the rear and I'm like, oh, there it is. That upper rear control arm bracket had sheared loose completely. You could just sit there and bang on the control arm. It was just flopping around. And not a huge deal. You can off-road on 3 links. That's your 4th link right there. But we needed to get home. So we had to do a repair on that and make our way home, which was definitely very interesting. And then when we got back here to Southern California, we took his Jeep and my Jeep back to Redlands because those guys do great work for us. They fixed Marco's clutch and they welded up some new R-Tech brackets. So got those fixed. I also should mention, I actually forgot about this almost, when, I told you I got notes over here, when we were in Moab, anytime that I was going up an incline, which is just about any time you're in Moab, I was seeing a little bit of an oil leak. And so I asked them to take a look at that when I was there. Come to find out, my oil cooler was leaking. And that's actually a pretty common problem with the JK, so we replaced the oil cooler. So another thing that's been fixed recently. Now, what's the plan with the JK? Well, I think the axles are tired. I mean, look, I've done a lot to beef these up. We've done some C-gussets, done ball joints, got chromoly axles in there, and they are the Dana 44s, but I ride this Jeep really hard, and I want my boys, when we're out on the trail, you know, if I'm taking the Gladiator, I want them to take this and, you know, we can go do some adventures together. Plus, I've still got big plans for doing some cool trails with this thing. And I think it's time for an axle upgrade. And that's a pretty big investment, but I think at this point it's time to do it. These have been ridden hard, and I think instead of just constantly doing repair after repair after repair, it's time to just go beefier. So more to talk about that here soon, but man, that's a lot going on with the Wrangler so far. So I really should sit down and figure out how many trips I've done this year because it seems like I've been on the trail a lot. And I'm not complaining. I'm so blessed to be able to do this. You know, my wife is so patient with me, to have my boys to come out with me from time to time, and have a good buddy like Marco that's able to take time off and just go these adventures. Has just been, man, it's just been a great year. We've done a lot recently, though, you know, with that trip up to Slick Rock and Deer Valley. That was amazing. I cannot wait to go back there. If you didn't check out those videos, definitely go check them out. It's a blast. And then Moab, and then we've been doing some local stuff. And that's kind of the plan for the rest of this year, is just to kind of slow down. No more big, long trips. Just do some local stuff here. You know, maybe a day trip, go hit a trail. Take my boys with me who, you know, they're getting older now and they've got jobs and they're in college. And so it's easy for them to just take a short day or maybe an overnighter, but they're not able to do the long trips anymore unless we plan those far in advance. So for the next couple months, we're just going to slow down and do some local stuff, maybe some more projects in the garage. But we do have some big plans for 2020. I can't share those with you yet, but there is some really cool things coming up that I'm super excited about. Oh, and I almost forgot, there's something right behind you that we're going to be testing out here in the next couple weeks. Let me show you that. So sitting in my garage is an off-road trailer, and this is the Patriot Camper X2. This is pretty cool. This is not something that I purchased because, let's be honest, it's a premium to buy a trailer like this. It wasn't sponsored and given to me by any means. This is just a loaner, and I'll explain a little bit how that kind of came about. But I was up doing the trip up in Northern California on Slick Rock, and the guys that were with us from Power Tank were towing a trailer, and man, they were just cruising through everything, and I was pretty impressed with how well the trailer they had was handling the terrain. And so I've been very interested in a trailer, and so I thought it would be cool to borrow a trailer and share with you guys what it's like to tow a trailer off-road, to go out camping and do some overlanding with it, because I think there's a lot of potential. I'm not sure that a trailer is the right fit for me, but being able to borrow one is going to be really nice, and then share that experience with you. So that's why there is a trailer in my garage. Now, how this all kind of came about is pretty interesting. So if you go back to the Overland Expo West 2017 video, I was walking around with the camera, you know, filming stuff, and there was a Patriot Campers X1 trailer there, and it was probably my favorite trailer of the show, and so I was filming it and I was talking about all the cool features. But then I looked down at the table where they had the price list, and it listed how much everything cost, the options, and what the total price was. And I was like, wow, that's kind of a lot. And I asked you guys on camera, I'm like, well, what do you think? Do you think it's worth that much? And that's all I kind of said. Well, a couple weeks after the show, Justin from Patriot Campers, the owner, reached out to me and said, hey mate, why don't you borrow a trailer and see what you think? Do you think it's actually worth it? He's Australian. That was a terrible Australian accent. I don't do that. But I was still active duty in the military at that time, and I didn't have a place to store a trailer, and just going and getting and coming back, the logistics just wouldn't work out. So I never was able to borrow one. And I've talked to him every year at Overland Expo. He's a great guy. He's got some great products and cool stuff that they're building. But it just came around this year. I'm like, hey, I would really like to be able to borrow a trailer. I've got a 3-car garage now. I think we can make this work. And so that's why, long story short, the Patriot Camper X2 is in my garage, and we're going to be using it on some trips in the next couple weeks and sharing that experience. And I'll do a full walk around and we'll talk about it. The cool thing is my wife came in the garage and was looking at the kitchen and all the cool stuff. She's really excited about using this, which is cool. I'm happy that she's excited about it. She's excited about a few other things about her Jeep. Let's talk about that. So it's been a full year now since my wife got her 2-door Jeep Rubicon JL, and she loves that thing. It's her daily driver. It's bright yellow. She's had it out on the trail before. She was in Moab doing some wheeling. She loves that Jeep, and she doesn't mind it if I tinker with it a little bit, but she's always said, you're not lifting it, you're not putting bigger tires on it, because she enjoys the way it drives, and she's been able to do some pretty cool stuff with it. But recently, after watching, again, I keep mentioning that Slick Rock video, but she actually watched that video and she's like, I want to take my Jeep there. Can we do that? And I said, well, hon, you can take your Jeep there, but it will be a challenge. We'll scrape it up. We're going to have to break out the winch. You really need bigger tires and a lift kit for a trail like that. And I could see the wheels turning in her head, and she's like, okay, maybe. And I was like, yeah, finally, I got you. And so we've been talking for a little while, and we are going to lift it and put some bigger tires. So I happen to have some 35s in the garage that were on the Gladiator for a short period of time, and I think we're going to put those on her Jeep, and we'll do some projects. And she's actually interested in getting here in the garage, turning the camera on, and turning some wrenches. So I think that'll be some pretty cool content that we've got coming up. We're going to do some upgrades to my wife's JL. I'm super excited for her. This is going to be awesome. All right, just a quick update on the Gladiator. There's been a lot going on recently. Now, we did do the wrap, and I just love how that turned out. We've also been doing a ton of other little projects, getting it ready for SEMA. I'm actually leaving in about 48 hours to hit the road to go to Las Vegas, where Amelia will be spotlighted outside at a premiere spot for SEMA. So if you're in the area, you can come by SEMA. The outside area is open to the public, and I'm excited because I've never been to SEMA before. This will be my first trip there, so I'm really looking forward to that. And I'm going to be doing a lot of filming, so there should be some cool content there. But still, a few things that I've got to get wrapped up in the next 2 days before we hit the road. But a lot of stuff that I've been doing with Amelia. Haven't been filming just because we've been really short on time, but I will be doing kind of an update video in the near future. But one thing I want to mention is I actually downsized the tires. We went from a 38 to a 37, and the reason I did that was because I could not fit a 38 in the spare tire carrier underneath. And so I took that out, and we were able to put a 37 in there, and it clears just barely between the track bar and the trailer hitch. So thankfully now I can run a full-size spare, and I just ended up throwing the 38s on the Wrangler. Now I am running the Milestar Patagonia tires, and I know a lot of people have been asking my opinion on those, and I still just want to put a few more miles on these tires before I give you my full opinion and a review on these tires. I will say initially I'm very happy with them, but I'm going to put some more miles on them, and then we'll do a really good talk on these tires. So anyway, a lot more to come on the Gladiator, and hopefully I'll see you at SEMA. Okay, I know I mentioned that we're going to talk about a giveaway that I'm doing, and we're getting there, almost there, but there's a couple things that are coming up that I'm pretty excited about that I want to share with you first. One is we're going to start doing some videos at camp that are a little more behind the scenes stuff that we don't normally talk about, because I get a lot of questions about where do you go to the bathroom, and what do you do for hygiene, and how do you wash dishes, and how do you set up and break down your camp? And so I think it'd be helpful for some of you out there that are maybe new to camping to talk about some of that stuff. So we're going to do a few videos on that. I think it'll be kind of fun and interesting and hopefully informative. Also, another thing that I'm going to start doing, because I get questions a lot about the stuff I use when I'm camping, the gear I use on my vehicle, tools I'm using in the garage. So I'm just going to do quick, short segments of here's a product I use, here's what I think about it, I like it, I don't like it. I'll give you my honest opinion about those. And so we'll do those here. I think it'll be just kind of nice. We'll just kind of squeeze those in between some of the regular programming videos. I think it'll be informative for some of you guys to hear about some of the stuff I'm using. Last, before we get to the giveaway, is just the other day, we wrapped up the TrailRecon Edition Gladiator build, and that video is going to be coming out tomorrow. So I'm hopefully going to get this video edited and posted today, and that video will come out tomorrow, and you'll be able to see the Gladiator, and you can go over to Redlands and buy it. It's really exciting. I'm so blessed to have had the opportunity to build a TrailRecon Edition Jeep. This is number 2 now, so it's pretty cool. I'm excited about the Gladiator. I think you guys will really enjoy it. All right, let's talk about the giveaway. So you know those giveaway contests where you've got to comment 4 times and tag 40 friends and repost a picture 3 times and then list your dog's social security number? Well, this is not one of those giveaways. We're keeping it very simple. All you got to click is the website address below, enter your name and email address, and then you are entered to win a KC HiLites Pro6 light bar. I'm so thankful to be able to offer one of this to one of you guys. Now, this is, unfortunately, it's for US residents only. I'm sorry, guys. It's just regulations only allow us to do that. But for one of you out there that's in the US, a TrailRecon follower, my partners over at KC HiLites and I are excited to offer a new Pro6 light bar to you. And I just want to say thank you so much to all of you guys for supporting TrailRecon, for watching the videos, for commenting, for giving the thumbs up over the years. This has been such an amazing journey, and it is all because of the amazing support that you guys have offered. There have been so many doors that have opened up. I mean, we're building TrailRecon Edition Jeeps, guys. That's because of your amazing support, and I just want you to know how appreciative I am of that. And hopefully just a small token about doing a light bar giveaway on November 15th will kind of share a little bit of how thankful I am to you guys. Okay. That's it for today. Keep an eye out for upcoming videos, and look, make sure you travel the trails responsibly. If you're visiting TrailRecon for the first time, hit that subscribe button. I'd love to have you as a member of the TrailRecon team. Thanks for watching.